What an anticlimactic start to this series. It was a long wait for all of us, and we were hoping that something good would come at the end of the wait, because as they say, good things come to those who wait. But I think the only good thing that came during the wait for us was the appetizing dinner that all three of us enjoyed. You're watching Cricbuzz Live. My name is Anubhav Jain. With me, Zach and PP. Zach, a real bummer. The first T20I washed out.
Yeah, I mean, you can't control the weather. If it's not going to permit for you to play, then it's always going to be frustrating for the players also, because you go there, you're all in the zone, getting ready for the match, and then the match doesn't happen. So it's always a bit frustrating, but you got to take things in your stride. First match of the series is gone. Washed out. Now it's going to be a two-match series.
Control the controllables, as Zach said. You also talked about the fact that it's very frustrating for some of the players, especially for the youngsters who are featuring in the series. Some of them playing for India for the first time, or not having played too much for India in the T20I format. They must have been champing at the bit to get out there wearing the India colours. So this must have been like a minor setback for them, you could say.
I mean, yeah, you can say that, but I think obviously every player wants to go out there and play. Especially they want to try and prove themselves, especially after what they've done in India, especially Yashasvi Jaiswal, Rinku Singh, Ruturaj Gaikwad. Here in challenging conditions, as Zach had touched upon the conditions of South Africa, where there would be extra pace, extra bounce. So they would be itching to show their talent and skill that we can perform here also. But as they say, you can't control anything. You can't control the weather. So you have to just take it in your stride and move forward and look forward to another game.
Look forward to another game. You said this was meant to be the first of 6 T20Is for both India as well as South Africa, leading up to the T20 World Cup next year. So that's 1 out of 6 washed out, which means that 16.666667% of the matches washed out. So 5 T20Is still left for both teams. So how does this impact the preparation leading up to the World Cup?
Well, this was the first game of the series here. So under these conditions, obviously you get a gauge of what Parthiv was also trying to say, that different conditions, different players right now going there. So this team, if you look at it, it's relatively young side. Having played in these conditions, you would have got a bit more gauge of how they're approaching. We have to wait for it another day now. But that's how things stand. You have a big squad. 17 players. So when you look at the squad size also, and you look at the number of games in this series, you know that the opportunity is coming to a lot of players. They might be thinking that, okay, now one game gone, you will not see a lot of changes in the playing 11 also. So whatever the playing 11 for the next game, they will possibly carry on with the same playing 11 unless it's forced change. So that limits the whole options also, for each and every individual also in the squad, because that 6 players will be left out of this playing 11, and then they'll have to wait for their opportunity.
Yeah, I mean, both of you all have, of course, been part of lots of series where there have been rain interruptions. Short series as well, this one just being a 3-match series, and the first match has been washed out. How does that impact the dynamic within the squad or the team's selection for the remaining matches, given the fact that, you want to test out as many players as possible, especially when your players might be auditioning for a bigger tournament coming up, but now that sample set reduces, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. And I think it is a bit difficult for a coach and captain there. If they must have come up with some kind of, mindset where we are playing a 3-game series, we want to give certain players a couple of games or maybe one opportunity to some players. But now, they'll have to rethink that. But when the first game of the tour gets washed out, you don't usually change that much unless when they go to, I don't know, where P, close to P, the place where the second T20 is.
We'll get to that.
That's when, if the conditions are, spin suitable or fast bowling suitable, so that's something which, they can think of. But otherwise, I don't think much will change from whatever playing 11 they must have decided today.
And there you go, Parthiv. We have the venue of the second ODI on your screen there.
Yeah, it was
for you to pronounce.
No, so Zach is the best one to pronounce this. We tried.
No, I've not even seen it.
Oh, you've not even seen it. It's some. Yeah,
we'll deal with it in the next.
I remember GK mentioning as part of the preview to this series that it seemed as if someone has misspelled the word Garba.
Garba.
But we'll get to the second T20I. We talked about how both of you have been part of series that have been washed out, how that impacts the dynamics within the group. Another personal question, Zach, what was your go-to activity while you were waiting for the rain delay to subside?
Well, there's no set routine as such, when when these things happen, you just kind of go with it, and knowing it's a T20 international, as it is, you're not spending that much time, so that's one positive. If you've seen the result, imagine if it's a 50-over game or a test match, then things change. You might have to wait longer, and that wait at times can be frustrating. So you figure out some kind of a pastime there within the dressing room. You at times I've seen players watch their videos, or they go back to the data analyst guys there, and they will look for some kind of technical things in videos, or some players will just possibly be playing cricket in the dressing room with the tennis ball at times. So yeah, you come up with use your creativity, and you come up with different things just to pass time.
Absolutely. And speaking of creativity and speaking of different things to come up with to pass your time, look, there might be floods on the ground in Durban, but a Twitter feed is flooded as well with your creativity and your questions. And you all have been sending us questions left, right, and center through Ask Cricbuzz Live. And we have Kumar Anubhav, I love your name, who says, like T20Is last year, ODIs might be the most overlooked format in this tour. Hence, will it matter much how KL Rahul fares as captain, Samson as middle order batter, and how Chahal fits in India's scheme of things? PP, good question.
It is a good question, but there is no doubt that one-day cricket will take a backseat during till the T20 World Cup happens in June. But I think obviously it doesn't mean that you don't analyze a player, or you don't judge a player from the one-day cricket, which KL Rahul is going to captain the side. Chahal trying to make a comeback here. So every game is important, but it doesn't matter that whether there is a World Cup or not. But when you're playing for India, every game is important. So selectors would be looking at their performances. There is no doubt about it. But yeah, format-wise, yes, it will take a backseat. But I think for players, it is another opportunity to show what they can do, especially for KL Rahul, the captain, which we've spoken about. He doesn't have that kind of a record as a captain when he captained India in South Africa last year. So he would personally like to turn it around and win the series for India. So that's exactly what they would be thinking here. Go out there, show your skills. It doesn't matter which format you are playing in.
Absolutely. As PP said, no match, when you're playing for India, personally as a player, no match is inconsequential or trivial. Zach, your thoughts on Anubhav's question?
Well, every match is important, as a team. When you're playing, you're obviously playing to win. And you got to find a way, you got to stick to your processes, the team management, what kind of process they're setting. It's always about winning, finding a way of securing games, winning series, tournaments. That's how the whole approach is. On these kind of tours, when you know that the priority is not given, for individuals, the performances which are bad, they always get counted.
Yeah.
So that's the tough part. So as a player, you can't look at a series and say that, it's just a filler series, or this series is inconsequential in the larger scheme of things. That doesn't really happen because it's an international game. You're playing for your country. When you perform, obviously you are supposed to, that's your duty. Your responsibility is to go out there and do well for your team and win matches. But if you take it lightly and the performances don't come your way, as a player, I can tell you every bad performance gets highlighted even more. So that way, if you are an individual, then the bad performance is something which you have to be wary of, and how that can happen if you get complacent, if you take things lightly, if you think that, okay, you are in good form, things are going to happen, you can stumble upon. So that is something which you have to stay away from. You have to just put your best foot forward. You have to stick to your processes. That's the kind of chatter you will see in the dressing room as well. Because on these kind of tours, if you think that, okay, the senior players are rested, now they're going to come back, and you go out there and think that, okay, this is just a series for me to take things easy or casually, it'll come back to haunt you for sure.
Exactly. As you said, if you take it lightly, you definitely become the architect of your own downfall, especially when you're playing for a team like India, when you have millions, if not billions of eyes watching, always under the scanner. But before the start of the ODI series, which is going to be a 3-match series, we have another 2 T20Is to complete, the first one being anticlimactic, washed out due to rain. But we have another T20I to look forward to. India versus South Africa, second T20I, which takes place at, look, I practice my pronunciation. I think you pronounce it Cricbuzz. I think Sean Pollock will have to probably give his verdict on whether I nailed the pronunciation or not, but we'll wait for his verdict. But before that, I'll get your verdict on what you guys are looking forward to for the second T20I that comes up. The first one washed out. Do you make any changes going into the second one?
I don't think so. I don't think India would be making any changes, unless the conditions are completely different than what they were here in Durban. So, yes, there are 17 players playing. There are only 2 T20Is. I'm sure there must have been playing 11 decided before this game. So I don't see any changes. We don't even know who's going to play or who's not, because there are a lot of questions here. Definitely, Mohammad Siraj is going to make a comeback. There is Kuldeep Yadav making a comeback, and you've got Ravi Bishnoi also, who's now number 1 ranked leg spinner bowler in the world. So whether you will go with 2 wrist spinners or not. So those kind of things, we're looking forward to it. The kind of template which we were talking about, what is something which India is there in their mind. That's something which we'll get to see in second game now.
Yeah, and as you said, of course, we didn't know what the starting lineup was for this game, what the starting 11 was. But Zach, for the second ODI, there are a couple of spots in the opening order. 3 players contesting for the spots: Shubman Gill, Yashasvi Jaiswal, and you have also Ruturaj Gaikwad. Who would you want to go with? I guess Shubman Gill and someone else. And who would you pick as the someone else?
Well, I think looking at the continuity and whatever we've been seeing, I think maybe Ruturaj might miss out. Yashasvi and Shubman Gill will start. Shreyas possibly will be coming at number 3. Then Surya. You'll have to see, whether Tilak is going to come in or not at that position, but you will definitely need a keeper. So Jitesh possibly will take that spot. You have Rinku at number 6, and then that will be followed by 5 bowlers. So Aksar's place will be taken by Ravindra Jadeja is what we are expecting. Ravi Bishnoi is someone who they should continue with, because that gives you flexibility as well. He bowls in the power play. If you go for Kuldeep, he doesn't bowl in the power play, so that should be the thought process there. We'll have to wait and see how the team decides. But that's what I'm gauging from the squad. Siraj comes back, so Siraj will be there. Mukesh was superb with the ball, so I think Siraj, Mukesh, and then they'll have to choose between Deepak and Ashdeep is what you're thinking. So that's by and large the stack up of the playing 11 from this squad. You're just getting the glimpses of that, feeling of that. We'll have to wait and see. But the decision in the top order, like you rightly said, the decision around the wrist spinner, what Parthiv was talking about, whether you want to go with number 1 ranked right now, Bishnoi, the flexibility, whether you're looking at that. Surya, we've seen have been very fond of using Bishnoi in the power play. So as soon as the pressure was coming onto him, he was feeling that comfort in bringing Bishnoi, changing the pace of the game. With Aksar also, we've seen he was using him in that power play. So with Ravindra Jadeja, is he looking at following the same template in his captaincy or not? We'll have to see in this series. That will be the continuity of what we've seen from Surya in the series against Australia.
Absolutely. And if you were part of the management, Parthiv, would you go for something similar to what Zach said? So Ruturaj Gaikwad with Shubman Gill up the order, stick with Ravi Bishnoi because he had such a stellar series against Australia. Now, of course, the number 1 ranked T20I bowler in the world. And you see Mohammad Siraj making a comeback as well, as Zach said.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I also see that Yashasvi Jaiswal and Shubman Gill will to start with. Ruturaj Gaikwad might just miss out. And then the kind of playing 11 which Zach just mentioned, and obviously from last series, if you don't play Ravi Bishnoi, that means you're taking out both the bowlers who are bowling 4 overs in power play. That was Aksar Patel and Ravi Bishnoi. So I think that's where the continuity makes a big difference, especially to a young player who's had a good series. If you give him that continuity, then that confidence grows, and when a wrist spinner needs that confidence, we all know how well Kuldeep Yadav has bowled in recent past. So there's nothing new we have to see. That his confidence is definitely back. So I think I would back here Ravi Bishnoi and Yashasvi Jaiswal, both of them in this playing 11.
Brilliant. And moving on to the South African side of the ledger, India, of course, have 5 T20Is before the start of the World Cup and before they can actually announce their squad. But South Africa, even though they might have 5 T20Is before the World Cup, they only have 2 more left before they announce this squad, because the tour against the West Indies takes place right before the World Cup. Looking at South Africa's squad for the first 2 T20Is, so something interesting that they've done is that Marco Jansen, Gerald Coetzee and Lungi Ngidi are just available for the first couple of T20Is because then they prepare for the red ball leg of the tour. And so keeping this in mind, and given the fact that we saw all of those players available for the first T20Is, I'm guessing these players that I just mentioned, Marco Jansen, Gerald Coetzee, are a surety because it's the last match.
Yeah, I mean, that's how you are expecting. Rabada is not there right now, so they'll have to fill that spot for sure. Lungi Ngidi, as you mentioned, is not going to be there for the whole series.
And I believe he's ruled out as well because of injury. So it's only Coetzee and Jansen who are there for the first couple of T20Is.
So South Africa also looking at this series in a similar way. You want to find those answers. You want to put relatively inexperienced players in those position of responsibility and see how they respond at this level. Everyone knows that India has got a very strong team. So if these young guys are able to perform and take their game to that level and compete at this level, that's just going to give them that much of confidence going forward. So it's going to be that little bit of experimentations from all the teams, which will be taking part in that T20 World Cup which we're talking about. So yeah, South Africa also, the new captain, he will be wanting to figure out his comfort zone about rotating the bowlers, the options, figuring out the options, and setting up that game which they will be feeling comfortable with. So yeah, we'll have to wait for another game now to see where South Africa's think tank is thinking.
Brilliant. And now that we only have 2 T20Is that South Africa play before they announce the squad for the T20 World Cup, we briefly alluded to this in our pre-match show, but I'm guessing Markram, the selectors, will be keeping a keen eye on how these players perform in the SA20 as well as in the IPL.
I think obviously, that they were starting after the World Cup today. I think now that's also been delayed for one more game. But yeah, I think that's something which South Africa would wanted to have more games more than India, because now that Faf du Plessis is a thing which is hanging around their throat, that he wants to make a comeback. So they would have liked to see a few youngsters in to just give them a game, and if they don't perform, can they bring him back into the squad? So that's something which obviously they would be thinking about. But yeah, as Zach said, there will be a lot of experimentation. There will be a lot of players playing out of the position, which we saw during India-Australia T20 series as well. So and Marco Jansen and Coetzee both won't be playing third T20I. So they'll play one more, definitely. It wasn't, to me, I think it wasn't about a workload of playing two T20Is. It was about giving them the time before the test series starts. Yeah. So I think that's where I think they will probably won't make any changes there. They'll just play one game more and then go out and bring someone else into the squad.
Yeah, as Parthiv said, the post-World Cup era for South Africa hasn't quite begun, so they haven't fully emotionally recovered from the heartbreak. But of course, they'll start that process, hopefully, if Rain doesn't play spoilsport in the second T20I. Rain played spoilsport today, and I did mention at the top of the show that one thing that made the rain delay bearable was the appetizing dinner that the three of us enjoyed. But there was one more thing that I forgot to mention, which was the fact that all three of us spent our time very constructively and productively trying to unravel the joy factor question that we had introduced in the pre-match show. I'm not sure if Zach and Parthiv had any luck trying to solve this. I certainly did not, but I'll mention the question again. Which cricket feat has been achieved by 3 people, one born in Bombay, one in Bangalore, and one in Shipley, Yorkshire? I'll come to any takers? Any takers?
No, I know because I've read it, so that's...
Yeah, he always reads it.
Yeah, I don't read it because I know.
Pretends he doesn't know, but he knows.
Like so this comes from the Parthiv Patel School of PPPedia.
No, I know I've read it somewhere after the question came in, so I'm not going to answer that. But yeah, when it's a 10-wicket Anil Kumble born in Bangalore.
And here is your
Ajaz
answer. I
Khan.
think Parthiv's already mentioned the answer. 10 wickets
Ajaz
in a
Patel.
test innings. Ajaz Patel from New Zealand, Anil Kumble from India, of course, and Jim Laker from England. A round of applause for PP.
No, because I read it with that.
But at least you did your homework.
Yeah, no, Ajaz Patel was born in Bombay. That's something which...
Beautiful. And a round of applause to the person who got this answer correct. But we'll keep it waiting. We'll keep that guess waiting. And good things will come to those who wait, as I said at the top of the show, especially to the one who's answered that question. One T20I done. 2 more left to go. It's an exciting phase leading up to the next T20 World Cup. For the next couple of T20Is, of course, there's a lot to look forward to. The game takes place in a city whose name we can't pronounce, but formerly known as Port Elizabeth. If you're in the team, you're Rahul Dravid, you're Surya Kumar Yadav, what do you tell the youngsters? Because some of them might be playing with this pressure that if I don't perform well, what if that jeopardizes my place in the World Cup squad?
I mean, you don't say anything. I mean, nothing changes here. I think if there was a game, if someone had not performed, then you would want to go and have a word with them. But here, nothing changes. As a coach, you would just go and tell them, we've well prepared. We've come here 3 days prior to the series started. That's now a luxury for anyone to have 3 or 4 days of preparation before the series starts, and you have to just go out there and enjoy yourself and play the way you have been playing. India, all these youngsters played really well against Australia in home series. Now yes, one opportunity is gone, but you have to think about what's in your hand. Now there are only 2 T20s are in your hand, and think about those 2 T20s and try and perform there.
Zach, I read this school of thought that we shouldn't be looking too far ahead, shouldn't be focusing too much on the T20 World Cup, because sometimes what ends up happening is whenever you're focusing on a World Cup that's coming up, you end up overthinking your selections. So do you think there's a case for keeping things organic as possible, take it one game at a time as opposed to looking too far into the future?
Well, you got to take a series at a time. And right now, with one game being washed out, there are only 2 games to go in the series. I think the best challenge right now, which you can offer to all the group, is to say that can you still win the series? No. So you still got to win 2 back-to-back games, and you say that you don't want a series to be a drawn series, which is going to get them going for sure, because that's a great challenge to have in a current scenario. And once you get them channelized, focusing there, that things will take care of itself. So you are absolutely spot on. When you're looking at the larger picture, you got to have the larger picture at back of your mind, but you can't just be thinking about it all the time. You got to still focus on the process. You got to still win those phases of the game. You got to see how individuals are responding under different kind of situation, and that is something which is an ongoing process, which keeps getting better. With more games you play, the same group playing for longer is going to just get more and more accustomed to thinking in a certain way, and that's what is required. I think this series is still going to be an interesting one, and both the teams will be fighting it with that kind of intention. South Africa playing at home, it just gives them that slight bit of advantage, because you don't want to lose a series in your backyard. So that is something which we've seen from South Africa. They've been very good playing at under their home conditions. We've seen in the World Cup also they've had a great run. So the series is going to be a competitive one.
Absolutely. As Zach said, take it one series at a time. And as PP said as well, if I were the captain or the coach, I'd simply be telling the youngsters, go out there, express yourselves, do your best and have fun. And don't focus too much on the future. Stay in the present moment. And speaking of staying in the present moment, doing your best, expressing yourselves, a lot of your answers came in to this edition of the Joy Factor question. And someone who got this right is Tushar Uchil. So Joy Factor correctly answered by Tushar Uchil. Tushar, you have joined the Hall of Fame of which Parthiv Patel is a part as well.
Not in this one.
But congratulations to Tushar, and thank you so much to all of you for joining us on Cricbuzz Live. Wasn't quite the ideal day, wasn't quite the day that we wanted with the first T20I washed out, but as both Zach as well as PP said, there's still a lot to look forward to, a lot at stake in this series, not least because the T20 World Cup is around the corner. Thank you so much to Zaheer Khan, to Parthiv Patel for joining us on Cricbuzz Live. A big thank you to you all as well. And we'll be back on the 12th, building up to the second T20I. Remember, the second T20I starts at 8:30 p.m. IST, which means that we'll be going live on Cricbuzz Live at 8 p.m. IST. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday, enjoy your Monday, and then we'll see you again on Tuesday. Take care.